Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Moe, aka Swedish Whiskey Girl. Today we are going to have a look at 3 different Glenallachies. This is from the wine cask series, and yeah, I'm excited to try them. The ones I have is an 11-year-old Grattamacco. We have, so that's an 11-year-old. We also have a Sauternes, wine cask finish, 12 years old, and we also have a 13-year-old which has been in Rioja. So 2 of these are just kind of what wine is, kind of normal wines. One from Italy and one from Spain. Rioja's from Spain, and then the Sauternes is a dessert wine which is from France. They have all been matured initially in ex-bourbon casks and then moved to these finishing casks for almost 2 years, and I think they're all a medium toasting level as well, all bottled at 48%. So look forward to trying these. I had a quick sip the other day where the Rioja was my favourite, but I haven't really had a time to sit down and really taste them, so I'm gonna do that today. Oh, and before I forget, it retails around £60, all these 3. I think they're slightly different, but around £60. Glenallachie is of course a Scotch whisky distillery up in Speyside. I've had the pleasure of visiting once. I'd love to go back and see it again. So it's, I like when they do longer finishing periods because I think it's interesting and allows this kind of quirky casks to be used in a different way. So yeah, let's start with the, what's it called, Grattamacco, 11-year-old. It's a bit like white grapes, floral, and like raspberries. It has like a berry note to it, or maybe blackberries. Yeah, it's this kind of grape fruitiness meets floral and meets berry notes, like almost my berry sweetness, but still quite floral. It has quite a big influence of the cask, I think, because the character is quite different to what you would get on a normal but like an ex-bourbon finished or an ex-bourbon matured whiskey. Definitely has the influence of something else. Almost makes me think a bit of stone fruits as well. We'll go through them on the nose first, just because I don't want the palate to kind of overpower it. You can also see the big difference in colour. I'm guessing it's natural colour, and yeah, so the wine ones have like a pink tint to them, and this Sauternes has quite a rich golden colour. This almost reminds me a tiny bit of a bourbon because it has this kind of grain note, a little bit of woodiness. There's also something sweet, but it's like sweet biscuity almost. Just gonna do a direct comparison. I'm getting a lot more on the Grattamacco on the nose. Now there's more of a little bit of a floral sweetness coming through on the Sauternes. But I always feel like Sauternes sometimes is quite mild in the way it comes through in a whiskey. So I usually don't get a lot on the nose from them, but I don't know if it's just I'm a little bit blind to those kind of aromas. And this is the Rioja. Ooh, that was different to the last time I got it. But this is lovely. Yeah. So when I film the intro to these, I always pour and then nose them just to make sure that there isn't something faulty with them, because then I've just not recorded. I haven't had that happen, but just to kind of check. When I nosed them initially, the Grattamacco stood out the most, but now when I'm actually putting my nose a little bit deeper into the Rioja, it has something about it that is just gorgeous. Also berry notes, but it's sweeter and less dry, maybe? The Rioja also has a touch of that kind of bourbon notes, which I think is that what you get from like virgin oak. It's a little bit of that kind of sharp green sweetness. But it also, it's tricky to explain, but it's like golden in a way. Yeah, golden green, but it also has like a bourbon note to it. So I don't know if it's like, it has like a corn note, but then also that strawberry. But let's start with the Grattamacco again and have a little taste. Sláinte. A lot of flavour. A little bit kind of Christmas spices, but also alongside the berry notes. Wine casks are always tricky because sometimes I feel like they have a tendency to be too dry. But I like the way it's coming out so far in this because it still has like a mouth-watering touch to it. The whole feel of it is slightly oily and like quite chewy in a way. It definitely has like that kind of chemical petrol note that I always speak about, and some people say that it sounds intriguing, some people say that it doesn't sound nice, but it is this kind of, I love the scent of petrol. I haven't tasted petrol and I imagine that being horrible, but if the scent translated to the palate, this is kind of what it would come out as, I think. Oh, banana flies. Yeah, a little bit berry. Has a dry touch of that Christmas spice, but not overly dry. And then it's that kind of petrol notes. Let's see what we get on this Sauternes. Sláinte. Well, the nose is coming out a lot more now, actually. Almost like artificially sweets. Like a mix between like a pineapple, peach, pear sweets. It's very lush in a way. Like if this was a colour, it'd be like a glittering gold. Also has a bit of that kind of chewier texture, not as much as the Grattamacco. I do think you get the Sauternes character coming through, which I really like. The nose is lovely now. Let's take a bit of time for it to open up, perhaps. Yeah, quite golden and like on the palate has a bit of kind of a yellow fruitiness. Not very much artificial sweets on the palate, more on the nose. The palate has a woodiness, has a soft grassiness which is slightly bitter. Then it has like a mixture between like lemon and oranges. It's not as sweet as if it was only like sun-ripe oranges, but it definitely has a note that is yellow, which is why it makes me think of lemon. But if lemon wasn't super sour, because I wouldn't say that's sour, so maybe like a lemonade. And here I'm also getting a really warming and nice finish, which is just kind of, so the way when you taste it, you get this kind of burst of flavour, then it kind of settles out, but then the finish kicks in and it just kind of grows a little bit more again, which is what really stood out for me on the Rioja last time. So we're going to try that now and see what we think. Sláinte. I think it reminds me a little bit of marzipan, and I love marzipan because it has like a nutty, almost like a walnut bitterness. It's probably the biggest one in its flavours because the flavours have more weight to them. The Grattamacco I experienced as being quite like fresh and lighter in its kind of weight, but the Rioja is quite, like, I don't want to say dense because I don't think it's dense, like the texture is quite chewy, but the flavors just feel a bit heavier. Just tastes like autumn in a way. Like maybe some red apple, some oat biscuits, and I realised I said oat biscuits in one of my other videos as well, and I don't mean oat biscuits as in the oat biscuits here in Scotland. I mean like oat cookies, like when you bake an oatmeal and raisin cookie, for example. That kind of oatiness, it's a little bit grainy, but it also usually has a lot of sweetness. I'm a big fan of oatmeal cookies, so that's what I meant. Apologies about that, but it's, and the finish on this one's lovely. It's a bit like an apple pie, and I feel like it has this lovely character that you get sometimes on single casks, that when you taste it, but then the whole character of it just stays in your mouth because it's just so full of like alive aromas. So I still feel them swirling around in my mouth, and they're really, really nice. So I'm really impressed by the Rioja, and I am going to go through the others and just have a sip again. Almost a bit like peaches on the nose as well. Yeah, a bit of peaches on the palate, I'd say. But let's have another sip through them all and we'll see what we think. Yeah, the Grattamacco is probably what I would expect from a wine cask. It has that berry note, it's very intriguing, but it does have a touch of that kind of chemical note, which I quite like, but I know some people don't. I feel like it's definitely fresher. I think that one is the freshest out of all of them, because it's just that kind of berry notes, and like it does have definitely a complexity to it because there's a lot of different things going on, but it also has like a robust note from the wood and the bitterness that comes down and brings it down with that little spice as well. But yeah, really nice example of a wine cask, and I would definitely consider buying a bottle of that. Go back to the Sauternes. Oh, it's so sweet on the nose now. I can barely understand I didn't get it on the first nose. Almost a bit like straw meets like lemon and probably white grapes. And some sort of sweet floral notes. That one I think is the sweetest of them all. Also good representative for Sauternes, because I really like Sauternes, and I like when it comes through in the whiskey if you're doing a Sauternes finish. But sometimes I feel like it's too mild, and then it just feels like some of the flavors are fighting each other. But here I think the spirit is strong enough to stand up to that big of an influence. So they meet well in the middle. And to finish off, let's have another sip of the Rioja. Definitely the heaviest of them. Now I'm a little bit torn. I really, really like the Rioja. It's very much an autumn whiskey for me, which is probably why I'm today feeling a little bit more summery. And I mean, if you'd asked me before today, I'd probably rank them Rioja at the top, Sauternes and then Grattamacco. But the Grattamacco has grown on me in just these kind of past 10 minutes when I've tried them. So I just thought of this. The Grattamacco for me is like a rosé wine. It has a little bit of course it doesn't taste like a rosé wine, but it has the same kind of character for me if it was translated into whiskey. Oh, I love Sauternes and Rioja, that's very nice. This Sauternes has some interesting characters that I'm definitely going to explore more. Okay, we'll do it like this. The Grattamacco is my favourite today because I'm feeling summery and I'm feeling like rosé. Any other day, if I'm myself, my romantic autumn loving self, probably the Rioja. And I mean the Sauternes is a nice kind of close second place between both of them. I mean, I know some of you have already ordered these bottles, so maybe have already received them, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, or if you have any other Glenalachie's that you like. I'm also going to review this little thing, which is the Virgin Oak series, and that will be coming out shortly, so I hope you're curious about those as well. And of course, I hope you've liked this video. Let me know your thoughts on Glenallachie in the comment section here below, and as usual I've also included my affiliate links in the description below if you feel like supporting the channel the next time you're shopping with either Master Malt, the Whisky Exchange, or the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. As always, I do also want to say a massive thank you to my wonderful supporters on Patreon. I'm so grateful to have your support. But I hope to see you in the next one. Sláinte Skål!